In this lesson, we're going to again concentrate on group data sets and how to find both the mean and mode. So we'll start off with the mean first. And remember, the mean is the total of all the scores divided by the number of scores. But when we're looking at grouped data, we're going to find the approximate mean. It won't be the exact mean because we lose some of the actual values of the scores when we place them into a frequency distribution table. So remember, that's our symbol for mean. That's the sum of the scores divided by the number of scores. Or there's another one that means the same thing, but that's our mean. That's the sum of the FX column, which tells us for large data sets, that's our total of the large data sets, and the sum of the frequency column tells us how many scores there are. So that'll be the approach that we take. So let's have a look at an example then. Determine the mean from the following data set. So again, there's our classes. It's a set of data that I've used before, so you might recognize it if you've watched previous videos. My class centers are the middle or the center of this class. And to remember how to find it is you add the two numbers together, then halve it. So 10 plus 14 is 24, halve it, and we get 12. So that'll tell us the center or the middle of each of those classes. And this is our frequency. So there were 5 scores that were from 10 to 14. I don't know exactly what those scores are, so this is why it's an approximate mean. It won't be the exact mean, because once I place them into classes, I can't exactly tell whether all 5 scores were 14, or if they were all 10, or they might have all been different, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So we lose that little bit of accuracy. So the mean will be an approximation. But what we need to do is add a column, or first of all, we're going to add or find the total of the frequency. So add all the frequency up. And when we do that, this will tell us the total of the frequency column and the number of scores that we've actually got. And that ends up being 42. So 5, 8, 6, 11, 4, and 8 is 42. There's 42 scores there. What I also need to do is put a fx column. Is now, like algebra, there's no sign in between. That's f times the x. My f is my frequency. My x is my score. In fact, we're going to use our class center. So I've corrected that. So there's my x for my class center. So we take our frequency, multiply it by the class center, and that'll tell us what the approximate total of these 5 scores that were in this class. So let's do that. We can go 5 times 12. So 5 times 12 gives me 60. So I write that in there. That gives me the approximate total. And then we do the same for the next one. Frequency times class center, 8 times 17, 136, let's write it in. Next one, frequency times class center, find our total and write it in. Frequency times class center, and we do that for the rest of them. So that tells me the approximate totals of the 5 scores in that class, the approximate total of the 8 scores in that class, and so on. What we also need to do then is what the approximate total is of all 42 scores are. So we add them up and we find that it's approximately 969. So using what we know again, that remember this is the approximate total, that our mean is the sum of the fx column divided by the sum of the frequency column. So the approximate total divided by the number of scores, and we find that the mean is approximately 23.07. Write the whole thing down, remember, and then reread the question and round it off if it asks you to. You could also change that to fraction form if you wanted to. So that's how we find the mean from a group data set. Remember, it's the approximate mean. It's not actually exact. So we've just got to be a little bit careful in regards with that. So let's have a look at a second example now. And this one is where we're going to find the mode or the class that's the most frequent, and we call that the modal class, not model class. This is the modal class. So we're talking about which class occurs the most. So we look down the frequency column. Okay, so we need to make sure we look at the frequency, the one with the highest frequency, which is this one here. That class ends up being the modal class. So there is our modal class 25 to 29, and we can now answer that question. Therefore, the modal class is 25 to 29. Not the class center, our actual class. So just be careful with that. And the modal class is pretty easy, just like finding the mode as well. But you need to make sure you organize your data first into a table, and it makes it a lot easier with your frequency wise. So I hope you found this useful. Remember, you need to go and practice it to get better at it. And the more you do, the easier it becomes.